got to take. I mean, this is set in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We've really got to take it with a pinch of salt, haven't we?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. Now, way back in the early days of a long, long time ago, Martyn and I pitched our TV series ideas, didn't we? Of TV shows that we'd love to see in the Star Wars universe. And one of yours was to go back way before the prequels and see something of the olden times, of the early days of the Sith and the Jedi. Looks like Disney listened, Martyn. Joking,
I mean, I'd like to take credit for it, Adam.
We're not going to get any riches from it. So
no.
But yes, the Acolyte. It's a few days away now. So Martyn and I figured that we'd do our preview of the series. You know, what we want to see, what we don't want to see. We did touch on it a little bit in a recent video, talking about the trailers. But Martyn, let's get a little bit more on your thoughts of what you are looking for.
Yeah, well, I mean,
hoping for.
You will know, obviously, because we talk about this sort of stuff all the time, and anybody who's watched us regularly will know that my favourite part of Star Wars, or one of the things I'm most interested in, is the Sith. And I've read a lot of books. I've read a lot of non-canon books. I've played a lot of games. You know, I've read all that stuff, and it's always interested me. You know, how the Sith in the shadows came out to present themselves and managed to take over the Republic, and did all this stuff, and where he ended up at the end of the prequel trilogy. So, in theory, this series has got Martyn written all over it. So I'm really, really looking forward to this series. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think, and I don't know if you agree, so far everything we've seen trailer wise, TV spot wise, promotional wise, has been pretty exciting. I mean, there's been a few things that I'm not overly keen on, but overall, I'd say
we'll get to that.
We'll get to those, won't we? But massively overall, I'm really excited for this series. So yeah, that's where I stand at the moment. Shall I start with predictions?
Well,
for the show?
I was just going to say I'm going to kind of reserve judgment. I rewatched all the trailers just before we came on, basically, just to sort of try and give a bit more of an opinion than I normally would, if you like. But I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit worried. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I feel like it's got legs to be a really good series. However, I've got a concern there that it's just not going to be. I don't know if it's going to live up to the hype. But
do you think that's because of we've been in this situation before?
We've been burned before.
Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka I loved, Obi-Wan Kenobi I loved, but I think we both, when we talked about them, appreciated and realised there were flaws in both those shows, and they weren't quite everything we wanted them to be. So I think going into this show, I've got that bit of trepidation as well, just like you have. But I'm overtly positive when it comes to these things, as you know. So
as always,
So I'm going to go in hoping for the best. So predictions. Well, I've managed to stay. I've stayed pretty spoiler free. I know there's some spoilers out there, but whenever I've sort of come across anything that could be spoilery, I've stayed away from it. So my first prediction is that we will only see the Sith Lord who's actually an apprentice in this show. And the girl Amanda Stenberg, who's the Acolyte in the show, I think from the fighting scenes, is the one throwing the knives at Trinity. I think she's going to be the Acolyte that's obviously being trained by the Sith apprentice in order to eventually become his apprentice and then displace his master. So that's my first prediction, and then that leads to my second prediction. Is at the end of the series, probably even the last shot of the series, we're probably going to see the master find out what's happening or something along those lines and confront his apprentice. And fingers crossed, this isn't a prediction, this is a hope, that master is going to be either Darth Plagueis, who obviously we know and know the name very well, or his master, Darth Tenebrous. So fingers crossed that's going to happen. That's a big hope.
So how much of the books are actually canon? Because if I'm correct, was Plagueis not the Sith Lord, and Sidious was the apprentice to him?
That's right, originally. Yeah. So we won't be seeing Sidious in this series, I don't think, at all, unless it pushes forward a number of years, perhaps in a second season or something. But yeah, the line of the Sith, it goes from going a few back. Tenebrous was Plagueis's master. Plagueis killed Tenebrous. And then he got Sidious to become his apprentice, and then the rest of it we know, Sidious to Maul, then to Dooku, and then to Vader, obviously. But I'm not 100%. I know Darth Plagueis, the novel, is the greatest EU novel ever written, as far as I'm concerned, but it's an EU novel, so I don't think there's anything really that says they have to have Plagueis, but I think it would be a massive letdown to a lot of fans if they didn't make Plagueis the master. But we're going off on one here, because let's be quite honest, Plagueis might not even be involved at this stage. So
no, this is true. We don't know.
Before.
Now, in the trailer, we do see the potentially the Sith apprentice. I'm assuming that's who we're seeing with the red lightsaber.
That's what I think. Yeah.
The outfit that he is wearing. What do we know anything of that? Do we? Is
nothing more than
completely new?
Yeah, nothing more that I've seen in the trailers or pictures of, to be honest with you. It's got kind of like a teeth effect. It slightly reminded me of one of the Knights of Ren outfits when I first saw it. From the sequel trilogy, but I mean, I doubt that's linked in any way. Who knows, mate? Which is great, because it's a mystery. Well, it's a mystery show, apparently, so it's great that we're here guessing. We don't really know. So, so my next prediction is that. But before I do that, I'm going to play a little video. There was a video that came out a couple of days ago of Leslie Headland, who's the creator of the Acolyte, and Dave Filoni, who obviously did Ahsoka, and she's. We were all a little bit worried about things that we've heard in the media and stuff about, not fitting into canon and stuff. But she did this interview, so I'm going to play a short clip of it now.
These things that George understood about filmmaking, understood about iconography, are things that we still try to tap into.
It's the Western. It's the samurai film. It has to feel elevated, but it also has to feel like Star Wars. Basically, what George created, it's the North Star.
Yes, so in that clip, you can quite clearly hear her say that what George Lucas created is the North Star. So for me, that's settled me a little bit. I'm quite happy for her to hear that, for me to hear that she said that, because I was really worried that we'd go into this and a lot of things we've seen happen in the prequels and the original trilogy and the Clone Wars wouldn't quite line up with what they've done here. So that's helped my mind a little bit. Because there's obviously the fact that the Jedi, as we've seen in the trailers, come across this Sith Lord. And I'm going to play you another clip now, which is something George said when he made The Phantom Menace. So I'm just going to play that now quickly.
The Sith Knights were started by a fallen Jedi Knight who was tempted by the dark side. The secret was that they were patient and they trained and studied, but they didn't make their presence known to anybody until we get to episode 1 here, where they finally make their move to try to take over the universe.
Yeah, so in that clip, you quite clearly hear George, the North Star, saying that the Sith didn't make themselves appear until episode 1. So they didn't make their presence known until episode 1. So that's not to say that they couldn't show up in the Acolyte. Because obviously it's not the Sith Master here that's obviously, in my eyes, is the one that's causing all this havoc. It's the Sith Apprentice and his Acolyte. So there's a way around that. But I do feel that by the time this show ends, whether it's season 1, season 2, there has to be a very good reason why the Jedi still think that the Sith are extinct when we come to episode 1 or something along those lines. Anyway, so I'm not gonna instantly hate the show on the first episode. If 50 Jedi come across this Sith Lord, I'm sure they know this. They're going to come up with a good reason for why the Jedi aren't aware 100 years later that the Sith are out there. So so basically that was my next prediction, that there's going to be a good reason why the Jedi don't realize that the Sith are out there, because I think that would be a massive canon breaker for me if that was to happen.
So is this? Do we know that this series is set about 100 years before?
Yeah, they've said several times it is 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So yeah, they've got a fair bit of leeway there, haven't they? I think so. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to labour on that too much, because I don't want to judge it before I've seen it.
Sure, yeah.
And I haven't come up with too many predictions, but my last prediction, and I think this one would be awesome if we see a lot of this, is I think we'll start to see the beginnings of how the Jedi start to become followers of rules, and how their hubris comes about, so that it enables their downfall for what happens in the prequel trilogy. Because in this era of the Jedi, I believe they're more like Qui-Gon Jinn, where they believe in the Force, that they let the Force guide them. They don't have codes and guidelines and all those things you hear Mace Windu talk about in the prequel trilogy. And then they're not very political. They don't follow what the Chancellor or the government tell them what to do. They're there to help, basically just to help people. That's all there is. So that would be really cool if we see a lot of how that might happen. And that could be because of things that in the background the Sith are doing, or the Sith Master's doing. But of course, they wouldn't know he's doing that, just like they didn't know Sidious was doing it in the prequel trilogy. So that's my last prediction, really, for the series. I know it's not very many predictions, but...
well, I mean, it's more than I've got, to be honest, because I just can't predict any. I can't really predict anything. I feel like this is something completely new to the Star Wars universe, give or take. It's pretty much completely new.
Yeah, definitely.
And it almost feels... It doesn't feel like Andor, but it's got that same thing of being something that feels completely different. Obviously, there's, we see from the trailer, there's Jedi and there's Sith. So, I don't know. It's a tricky one for me. I feel like they're trying to do something different as well. So,
yeah. I mean, in a way, it's probably good for you, because you're going to go into it fresh. Not knowing any of the lore, and then I'm gonna say that was brilliant, and then I'm gonna destroy it for you by going, well, actually,
well, actually, no, that wouldn't happen.
I'll do the comic
we'll see. Please do. No, that's good. So what are you hoping to see then? What are you wanting to see in this?
I'd like to see lots of Coruscant and the Jedi Temple. You know how much of a big fan I am of that planet, and seeing more of the Jedi Temple, that's fantastic. I love seeing the inner workings of the Jedi. For me, the spaceship battles, the politics side, I love all of that, but it's the Jedi and the Sith and the mystical side of everything is my favorite part of Star Wars. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing a lot of that. I'm really hoping to see a lot of prequel style lightsaber duels. One thing I have heard is the creator said that they've choreographed a fight which should, if not completely better, the Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi fight from the Phantom Menace. And for someone to come out and say that's a pretty bold claim. If that is the case, I can't wait. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be amazing. So that's going to be brilliant. And my last thing, and I think it will be done sparingly if this is a thing, but Yoda is completely and totally about at this point. He's 700 years old. Yeah, he's only 700, so he's totally there. And I'm sure he probably must be in the council at this point.
He's going to be pretty fresh as well. I should have thought. We see how good his lightsaber skills are in the prequels.
Yeah.
So way back before this, he should be even better because he's not 800 yet. So
I don't think we'll see him fighting, but I do
come
think.
on, I feel like we have to. I feel like he'll be the, if it's a final boss for a bad guy, what's a final boss equivalent for a good guy?
Yeah,
it's the final level. Yoda's the final level. Let's put it that way. I feel. Yeah, I don't know. I also would love to see a Yoda cameo of sorts, and I think we will see it. I think it's what I mean, this is a bit of a bold claim in itself, but I think everyone wants to see Yoda at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll see some cameos from some characters from the prequels. I mean, I think we've both talked about in our last video when we brought up the Acolyte that we saw Plo Koon.
Yeah,
it seemed to look like Plo Koon anyway. In the background.
I mean, I don't. What? How old's Plo Koon? Did we say?
Yeah, I investigated, and I think they live for about 300 years. The Keldar. So
okay.
So yeah,
possible,
I think it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Yeah. What about Ki-Adi-Mundi?
I don't know. I didn't check into their lifespan, and I'm struggling to actually remember what his alien species name is. See, this is why I lost the quiz.
Conehead, wasn't it? Conehead. No. Well, I've just got a couple more wants for myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not all about you, Martyn.
No. Sorry, mate. I thought you were done. Sorry.
But no, like you say, you'd like to see more of Coruscant. I think I'd like to see different planets. To be honest, would be good. I feel like one of those, the foresty kind of planet that we see in the trailer. To see a bit more of that. Something interesting. I don't know. And we obviously see a Wookiee Jedi, so maybe a return to Kashyyyk, possibly. I don't know. Yep. Some things like that would be quite nice. And also a classic Star Wars space battle would be quite good with some classic vehicles or, different vehicles potentially. Might be all right. Might be quite good. Yeah. What nots? What we don't want to see.
Yeah, we don't want to see. Yeah, I mean, we do try and keep things very positive. So I'm going to keep this as positive as possible. But there's one major thing that I do not want to see, and if it happens, I will find it very difficult to let this go. So, right, I do not, and I repeat, do not want to see the Force heal power in this show that they use in the sequels, because it would just hammer another nail in. It's only 100 years before the prequels. Why is it that the Jedi have forgotten this power and Anakin has not been? He goes to the Jedi library just like everybody else. Why has he not learned this power or found out about this power that enables people to heal? Because it basically defuncts the entire prequel and original trilogy. So there should not be any Force heal in this show.
No, absolutely not. What I don't want to see is anything that attempts to explain the sequels, because I feel like we've seen enough of that. And okay, it's set 100 years before, so we shouldn't see that. But you never know with Disney, do you?
No, you don't. So, I mean, fingers crossed we don't. But yeah, I mean, if it was if there was a Force heal power and it was like 20,000 years before, then that's fine because you can kind of understand why the knowledge might have been lost. Yeah. So, but not 100 years, not even 250 years.
I feel like they've got to play it carefully.
Yeah. So yeah. And the only other thing I have, and it's kind of a jokey one, it's because it's in the trailer, so I know it's going to happen. But the lightsaber whip. I know I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's in the EU."
It's in Clone Wars, isn't it?
No, it's not. That's not true at all. It's not a lightsaber whip. That's just an energy whip.
It's just a light whip. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
but do we know that this isn't a lightsaber whip?
Yeah,
this is a lightsaber whip and not an energy whip.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, yes, because her lightsaber goes floppy all of a sudden. It's a proper lightsaber that then just goes floppy. No jokes here. And it turns into a whip. So look, is that going to ruin the show for me? 100% not. is it going to be a bit of a like moment? Probably for me, probably, but you never know. It might turn into this absolutely amazing kick-ass action sequence, and
That
we're all going
could be the scene that
MVP
they're
moment.
talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
it could be.
let's not prejudge it. I don't like the idea
I
of
don't
it.
know. It's one of those things for me. Going back to the Andor series, saying how I don't know if you remember, I said about how overpowered Luthen's ship was, and I feel like it's one of those things that if it's something that's been invented before, why aren't more people using it? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
no,
just my thought.
I agree. I mean, the thing is, I used to think like that, but there's yellow lightsabers now everywhere. Yellow lightsabers, and for the entire of the prequel trilogy and the sequel and the original trilogy, we never saw a lightsaber that was yellow.
No.
So but it's one of those things you just got to like. It's
Grin
happened
and bear it.
now. A thing
Just
it
grin
happened
and
in the
bear
Clone
it,
Wars.
yeah.
There was a yellow lightsaber that came up as the Jedi Temple Guards, and we didn't think of anything back then. So there's no point in letting something as silly as that ruin a show for you. So
exactly. No.
So
got to take. I mean, this is set in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We've really got to take it with a pinch of salt, haven't we?
Absolutely. And it's the story. It's the story that is the key here, isn't it? They spent $180 million on this TV show, which is as much as a movie. They've not used the volume. It's all proper sets, and they've used proper CGI. So the money's there. The characters that look like they're there. The action from the trailers looks like it could be there. So I'm as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm really excited. So roll on Tuesday or Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Excellent. Nice. Yes. Well, if you've got this far to the end of this video, thanks very much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, of course. Our next episode, we're going to be reviewing those first 2 episodes with a special guest as well. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. As I said, hit like on this one if you enjoyed it. And as always, we'll catch you in the next one. We'll see you later.
Bye.